Last night before the 4 o'clock Mass, I was standing in the vestibule looking at the Glasser match graphic, thinking we're doing pretty good on that. We're at $79,800 and some change out of the 100,000. Then I thought, I don't like doing things pretty good. I like doing them really good. And I think we can knock out the last little bit of that Glasser match this weekend. If we do some quick math, we have like 500 families in our parish. If 40% of them gave an average gift of $100, that would knock it out. And I'll tell you, we already got a $5,000 check and a couple 200, so it's even less than that now if just 40% of our parish gave $100. So even if you can't give 100, give a couple, because if we get everyone given, that average needed now is like 40 if the entire parish donates this weekend. And let's just hit that next milestone we need to hit so we can get that school built. This weekend in our gospel, we hear Jesus calling us to participate in his mission. Right? We have seen this in our liturgical year already. Right? We started by reading in Exodus in the Lenten season about God providing for his people, leading them out of slavery to Pharaoh into the promised land. And God didn't do it purely on his own. Certainly, he was the driving force, but he desired his people to participate in that saving work with him. Right? That's why he has Moses, one of the Israelites, be their leader. Right? It's not God in his booming voice from on high that goes to Pharaoh and says, "Set my people free." Rather, he tells a meek man, Moses, who says, "I can't talk really good. Why are you sending me?" Right? He sends him and his brother Aaron to lead the people out of Egypt. When they're going through the desert, God, yes, provides them manna and quail and water, but it's through the work of Moses and Aaron that he provides it. We see at Meribah, it's Moses striking the rock with his staff that makes the water flow. We see then also in the example of Jesus that God desires humanity to participate in its salvation. Right? Mary has to say yes to God in order for Jesus to be born, in order for God to become man. And even in our gospel today, then, we see Jesus calling the 12 to join in his work. Jesus has already begun preaching the gospel. He's already begun curing the sick. He's begun feeding the hungry. And yet he desires his people to join in that work with him. And so he sends out the 12. And I think an important thing we see in Jesus' calling of them is who he tells them to go to. Right? He tells them today, do not go into pagan territory or enter a Samaritan town. Go rather to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Right? He tells them, keep it local, right? Go to those in our community who need to be brought back into the fold first. Certainly, God's not going to ignore the others, right? After the resurrection, the apostles go and preach to the entire known world at the time. They preach to India in the east and Spain in the west. They go to the capital of culture in the ancient world of Rome and preach the gospel there. But first, they preach to the lost sheep of Israel. They gather God's people in their local community first. God likewise wants us to participate in his saving mission even here and now. And he calls us first and foremost to join in his mission in our local community. He calls us to preach the gospel in our own homes and in our own neighborhoods. He calls us to feed the poor and to cure the sick here in Emporia first and foremost. How are we being called in a greater way to enter into God's mission? Right? What are we supporting in our life? All right, we have great opportunities to preach the gospel here in our own town. We have great opportunities to support those in need. And we have the Icebox, which feeds many in our neighborhood. We have Shiloh House, which helps support pregnant women and their children in our very local community. We have our school, which preaches the gospel to the youth that are in the pews with us here today. And we have an opportunity here and now to enter into the work of Jesus in our own community, that our church may be built up to go out into the world and continue preaching the gospel. Let us recognize the great gifts that God has given us. Let us see the way which he has enriched our life. And let us, like Moses and Aaron and like the 12, join in that mission which God has started in us.